Hello dear students, welcome to this program. Today we are discussing an interesting topic titled Naturalism, its contribution. Before discussing naturalism in detail, let us first know its objectives. To understand naturalism, to highlight major parameters of naturalism, to get familiar with different forms of naturalism, to understand basic tenets of naturalism as a school of thought, to study the impact of naturalism on education. Now, let us start naturalism, its contribution. Naturalism is considered as an old philosophy. It is a school of philosophy which goes against idealistic principles and strives against humanism. Naturalism is a doctrine which separates nature from God, subordinates spirit to matter, and sets unchangeable laws as supreme. Naturalism is a philosophy of nature. It has been derived from the word nature or natural. According to this philosophy, nature is real, matter is real, and not the spirit. The prominent naturalist philosophers are Bacon Francis, Comenius John, Rousseau Jean-Jacques, Spencer Herbert, and Tagore Rabindranath, etc. Naturalism believes that reality and nature are identical and that beyond nature there is no reality. Material world is the real world. It lays emphasis upon nature in every field of education. It puts forth that nature contains the normal and only final answer to all philosophical problems. It is said that all things on this globe are governed by nature. Nothing is witness beyond nature, behind nature, and other than nature. Nature is a self-sufficient entity having its natural matter, natural forces, and natural laws. Naturalists say that ultimate reality is matter which manifests itself in the form of nature. Everything that can be seen, touched, felt, etc. is matter. For the naturalists, material world or the physical world or nature is the real world, which can be comprehended through human senses and scientific investigations. Naturalism believes that knowledge consists through senses. Senses are the gateway of knowledge. The final truth can be known through senses. It is through senses that our mind, intellect establishes contact with external world. Naturalism believes in the direct knowledge of nature and not in bookish knowledge. Knowledge is empirical and experimental. Now, let us try to understand different forms of naturalism one by one in detail. Physical naturalism. Physical naturalism studies the process of matter and phenomena of the external world. It explains human activities and experiences in terms of material objects and natural laws. In other words, physical naturalists lay more stress on the external material phenomena than the conscious human being. According to this view, the external nature has complete hold on the life of human beings. Mechanical naturalism. According to mechanical naturalism, this universe is a lifeless huge machine which gets its form through matter and motion. Man is no exception and is also a cog in the machine. All movements of heaven and earth are, in the final analysis, attributable to the mechanical nature of the phenomena which is destined to move. In the movement of this machine, no mind or mental activity is required, nor any spiritual power is needed. In other words, mechanical naturalism has given rise to modern psychology of behaviorism. Biological naturalism. This form of naturalism is based on theory of evolution of Darwin. According to this theory, man has evolved from lower animals by a gradual process of development. Man is supreme product of this process of evolution. The advocate of this school uphold that heredity has a powerful influence on the nature and temperament of an individual human being. The process of evolution underwent a timeless growth and admits of some purpose in evolution. Biological naturalism subscribes to the following principles of evolution: adjustment and adaptation to environment for base survival, otherwise life would have become extinct. Struggle for existence, that is, life is a struggle in which adjustment helps it. Survival of the fittest, that is, only the fittest survive, others decay and die out. This form of naturalism exerts most prominent influence on the process of education. The main characteristics of this school of philosophy is: naturalism gives prime importance to nature, hence its call is back to nature. According to naturalists, the best teacher of child is nature. Hence, to develop the child according to his nature, education should provide natural environment. Naturalism has opposed mere academic knowledge and verbalism of books. They emphasized real education to be according to the nature of the child through natural interests and activities. According to naturalists, scientific knowledge is final. Scientific knowledge is of highest value and of utmost worth. Materialism is a reality. The real world is the material world. Naturalism has no faith in soul or spirit. Naturalism believes in struggle for existence, for survival. The aim of naturalistic education is to ensure complete development of individuality without any interference by the society. Stresses on autonomous development of man. Naturalists are very emphatic that all knowledge comes through the senses. Knowledge gathered through senses is more lasting. The impact of naturalism on education can be understood under the following heads. Naturalism emerged as a powerful revolt against traditional education. In the field of education, naturalism means the development of child according to his inherent nature. Nature of the child is internal, which means the basic instincts, tendencies, capacities and other inborn potentialities. According to naturalism, laws of nature should correspond and cooperate with the internal nature of the child for his full natural development. Naturalists believe that instead of forcing knowledge into the mind of the child, the educational process should inspire the child for self-acquiring and self-learning. Follow nature is the slogan for effective education. Naturalism on aims of education. The aim of education, according to naturalism, is self-preservation and self-expression. Naturalism believes that education should help a person in self-preservation, securing the necessities of life and developing economic efficiency, upbringing children, helping him in the maintenance of family life, keeping up social and political relation, enjoyment of leisure and leading a life of pleasure. The aim of education, according to naturalism, is sublimation of instincts, their redirection, coordination and harmonious working, so that man should achieve the natural goals which have individual and social value. Attainment of present and future happiness is that education must emphasize emancipation, molding and guiding of the basic impulses of a child so as to attain natural progress and development. The aim of naturalistic education is to ensure complete development of individuality without any interference by the society. Autonomous development of man should be the aim of education. The purpose of education is to enable the individual to develop his individuality and also be able to contribute to the development of the society. The naturalists of all the brands are, however, unanimous that education is the process of development of the child into a joyful, rational, harmoniously balanced, useful and natural child. Naturalism on curriculum. Naturalism considers a child as an important part of education. Therefore, curriculum must be child-centered so that a child may lead a happy life by fulfilling his present and future needs. As such, naturalists regard religious education as useless. According to them, curriculum should consist of subjects and items which reflect the inborn tendencies, natural interests, natural activities, individual differences and sex problems of children so that they develop their individuality naturally and normally. Naturalist advocates the science which deals with nature, physics, chemistry, zoology, botany, etc. because the physical science are the benefactors of humanity. Science reveals the mysteries of nature, hence only that knowledge is true which is derived from science. Moral education should be given through experiences rather than through instructions. As we should teach according to the rhythms of nature, so we should punish as nature punishes. Liberal education is recommended by naturalists because they do not believe in specialized education. Naturalism on methods of teaching. Naturalism in methods of teaching represents a revolt against old traditional system of education. Instead of sticking to old dogmatic methods, naturalism emphasized more dynamic and more progressive methods. A direct experience with nature, things and men is the keynote of instructions according to naturalists. Naturalists believe that all knowledge must emerge out of actual situation and experience. proper method of imparting scientific knowledge is through observation and experimentation and not by chalk and talk methods. Naturalists advocate playway method of teaching, which gives training of senses. It is the form of direct experience that makes learning interesting. Play must, of course, suit the nature of the child. It is contended that man does his creative work in the true spirit of play. Playway is therefore regarded as the natural and outstanding method of creative education. The principles advocated by naturalists have therefore brought into being the modern methods of teaching, which are observation method, playway method, heuristic method, Dalton plan, Montessori method and other experimental methods. All these methods are self-learning methods and as such they are very effective and purposeful. Naturalists are not in favor of keeping the child under control. They want an ideal environment of freedom for the development of the growing child. They disfavor unnatural classroom methods and hate any type of rigidity in the daily timetable. Naturalists are of the view that education should be planned according to the nature of the child, that is, according to his abilities, interests, attitudes and needs. Nature of the child should be given top position in the educative process. Naturalism on discipline. Naturalists oppose the traditional concept of discipline. They give utmost freedom to child. They oppose the method of physical punishment, for they believe that this gives rise to undesirable conflict in the child. Naturalists believe that if the child makes a mistake, he will get his reward from nature itself and thus he will learn to distinguish between right and wrong through the consequences of his own actions. For this reason, the child should be given every liberty. To the naturalists, liberty does not imply freedom to interfere with the activity of others. Naturalism condemns all repressionistic measures and guarantees maximum freedom to the learner. There is no restriction, punishment, interference and control in the business of the child. Full license is given. There is no need of external influence or control to discipline the child. Naturalism and teacher. The central position goes to the child in naturalistic education. The teacher is an observer, a stage setter, a provider of opportunity and a creator of condition under which the natural development takes place. The presence of the teacher has been considered necessary, but his interference should be minimum. He is a director and not a dictator. He is an observer of child's development rather than a giver of information, ideals and ideas. The teacher must see that the education of the pupils is the free development of their interests and motives. The teacher must study the child's psychology and interfere in his activity only when some obstacle bars the way to the child's progress. The aim of education, according to naturalism, is to provide the child with opportunities of complete understanding and self-expression. The role of the teacher, therefore, is only to protect the child from repressions and mental disorders of all kind. Naturalists do not like that children should be taught in classes by teachers. Naturalists consider the place of a teacher behind the scene. They think that the original glory of the child fades because of the well-meant interference of the educator. The teacher should not impose upon the child anything under his own authority or supremacy. The teacher should behave sympathetically and affectionately towards the child so that he feels full freedom to develop himself according to his natural qualities, interests and capacities. Now, in conclusion, let us know what we have learned. It may be said, naturalism has brought to the forefront the importance of the recognition of the child in the process of education. It is essentially based on a theory of human nature, which considers child as spontaneously self-active and inherently pure. Naturalism has drawn the attention of the educators to study the child carefully and provide education accordingly. It advocates that education should be child-centered. Naturalism has stressed that the educative process should be made pleasurable and enjoyable. In the end, we can say that naturalism has contributed a lot to the modern educational thought and practice. It is very famous for its outstanding contribution of psychological methods and principles of education. This was all about this topic. Thank you and goodbye.